to start us is just introducing the organization that then helps us to do the certifications, and this is SMI, the Sales Management Institute. Now, SMI is an institute that is a leading sales certification body which seeks to help professionals in sales to just learn and develop sales management, and doing this worldwide. SMI equips professionals to just excel in their careers by empowering you with cutting-edge sales strategies that would foster problem solving and also propel you to unprecedented heights in revenue success. Now, to this regard, SMI offers you globally recognized standards, certifications, online sales courses, sales CRM solutions, thought leadership in the area of sales, and also innovative AI-based tools, amongst other things. SMI's vision is to improve sales performance through education, networking, community building, and also certification programs. Yeah. So to just take us in, I would just like to ask a question that I think has been asked a lot in leadership. As great leaders born, or are they made? What are your thoughts? You could answer, you could come off mute and share. You could also share in the chat box. Great leaders, are they born or are they made? And welcome, Cheryl. Welcome back, Diana. Welcome, Litmas. So I'd like to hear from you. Please share. Okay. So Litmas, when you say made, tell us a little bit more. And I'd like to hear from Immaculate.
I believe they are made
Mm-hmm.
or they
Okay.
become,
Sorry?
or they become.
Why do you say so? Tell us, just tell me a little bit more. Okay.
Well, I don't have the right words, but I imagine you need to put an effort to want what you like to be. Sometimes, of course, it takes when we're born, we all go to school, and it takes a different eye of a teacher to pinpoint a talent and grow it. So in this case, they would be made. Well, not how do I say? They become, but effort from different eyes. That is, if you're open enough to accept those side kicks. I don't know the best word to use, but if you accept, for example, guidance of a teacher, or a mentor, or a coach, or yeah.
Okay, all right. Wonderful. And I think Litmus agrees with you there that they're made through experience. Cheryl, I'd like to hear a little bit more from you, since you say they're both made and born. I'd like to hear a bit more if you could come off mute and share, or even, okay. Okay. I love that. Yes. There are people who actually have great leadership skills. Yes. Yeah. Even when we watch children play, there's some who just come up as leaders and we can't help but noticing. Yeah. And others, true, do need a nudge to become great leaders. Yes, so they can become great. I totally agree with everything that has been shared. So when we look at that, well, with that in our mind, what about salespeople? What would we say about salespeople? Are they born great salespeople or are they made? Do you agree with your previous thought or does it change? Aha, okay. Oh, really? Cheryl, tell me a bit more about them having to be, or you thinking that they are born? Why you feel great salespeople are born?
Hello, I'm Cheryl. Can you hear
Yes,
me clearly?
Cheryl. Yes, I can hear you clearly.
Okay, I believe that salespeople are born because it requires people, and I don't think that can be taught.
Mhm. Okay. All right. Anybody has a contrary thought?
I mean, I would say, may I?
Yes, please.
Oh, yeah, sure. So I mean, when I think deeper, I would say we, so sales is a name or, yeah, for the lack of a better word, a box that we put certain people for, depending on the caliber or the type of job they need to do. However, you may see someone on the streets who is a very good storyteller, but unless you tell them that they are, or you can be a very good salesperson, or you can also be a very good storyteller. So um, it depends how you define really who is a salesperson. So
Mhm.
what are you? You tell a story and you buy me out on something, but you're not really selling, or you could be selling. So yeah. So it really depends on how we define sales.
Okay. Wow, that is interesting. So then I come back again when you talk about how do you define sales. So I come back to ask, when we look at sales, do you see yourself as a salesperson? Immaculate, we start with you, then we'll go to Cheryl, and then see if we can also hear from Diana and Litmus. How would you define a salesperson? And do you believe you're a salesperson? Yeah, a tough one. I would like to position that sales is done more than we actually think about it. There are many instances in which we are selling. I may not be selling to a customer out there, but even as I'm dealing with my colleagues here, there is something I am selling. I'm presenting something. I want them to buy into a view I have. So I am also selling. And so we see that there are instances where you can be selling way beyond a normal, what we call a normal sales sort of relationship or situation. And we'll see a little bit more about that even as we go on. But I want to agree with our earlier thoughts that even as we talk about leaders being born or leaders being made, we have leaders who are born and they can be identified at a very early age, but there are also a lot of leaders who have the potential, but they need the structure to help them become great leaders. So some people say that they aren't born, that they are made. There are some who just hit it naturally, but there are also many who have potential but then they need the structures to allow that to happen. Yeah, so we would then agree leaders are both made and born and made, and salespeople are also born. There are people who find it very easily to sell something and get people to buy in whatever it is, a product or an idea. There are people who do that very well naturally, and then there are people who struggle, and there are people who work on it and get to become great at selling. And we want to just look at how it is we can do that. What I've also seen is that even some people who are quite great, they're naturally quite great salespeople, are still also able to hone their skills so that they can become better at selling. And that's what we want to introduce to us today, even as we look at what, in conjunction with the Sales Management Institute, we are able to offer. So I am Josephine Kimai, and I work with Vital Solutions Africa. A lead consultant at Vital Solutions Africa, and we are the authorized business partner of Sales Management Institute. Now, Sales Management Institute has different programs, and we'll get in deeper to just get to understand a little bit more about these programs and what it is they entail and how they can equip us to then be better in sales. So let me start with the first one. One of the first certifications that Sales Management Institute is offering is the Sales Foundation Professional. This is a very basic step. In this particular session, we get to understand a little bit more about what sales is, at the core attributes of a salesperson, the key attributes of a salesperson, and the core functions of a great salesperson. And a great sales professional. This would look at things like what is the right attitude to have. We'll explore things like a good salesperson versus a bad salesperson. We look at how to use body language in sales. We look at how you can set SMART goals. We look at emotional intelligence and looking at using emotional intelligence to sell better. And then in this stage, we also look at different sales methodologies. We also consider the sales process. We look at what is important. Do you position your product, or do you look at the value or giving a solution? We look at functions of sales management. Then we also look at how you can pitch sales. We look at how you craft an elevator pitch. How you manage performance, your own performance or performance of a team. And then we also look at how you can make the most and the best out of customer retention management program that you may have. So that is the first certification that is given, Sales Foundation Professional. Now, the way this works is we have this training, so that training can be offered, and then after that, for those who desire to do so and get the certificate, they can sit an exam, and after they go through the exam and pass, are then given their certificate and this accreditation, where they can then use this, and this is something that is globally recognized. So we can offer training just as training, and then we can also give the opportunity for people to do the exam and actually get the accreditation so that they are certified at this level. Any questions so far? If you have any questions, feel free to share that in the chat box, or you could also unmute and interrupt me. Then the next stage that we have is a certified lead generation specialist. In this stage, we will introduce what we call the SMART framework. It's a special framework by Sales Management Institute that just lays down how we approach sales. we have 5 layers in the SMART framework. The first layer is a foundation layer that really looks at the market, and you get to understand the market. You get to understand the strategies that you can use for marketing. And here, when we're going through this, we'll be giving the key highlights. And then we have layer 2, which is an execution layer, which looks at lead management, and we'll share the key highlights in that. Then we have layer 3, which is a supporting layer, and we'll show a little bit more about what that entails. And then we have layer 4, which is the measurement layer, which looks at the metrics, the analytics, and reporting of sales. And then we have layer 5, which then looks at governance and sales leadership. Now, in this stage, which is what we call the CLGS stage, we'll major, in as much as we will get to understand the framework, we get to major on the execution layer, which is layer 2, where we are looking at lead management and really understanding leads, the types of leads, understanding the leads, what is a lead, a prospect, an opportunity, and just moving a lead to becoming an opportunity. Here we get to really define an ideal customer profile for our business or our product. We look at how we can work with lead generational objectives and KPIs, ways, channels of generating leads, how to determine a fit for you, your organization, how we can qualify a lead, and even how to score a lead so we can determine which lead we need to pay more attention to at a particular time. We look at how do we nurture leads? How do we do a distribution of leads? How do we look at turning them to opportunities? And then how do we handle objections? Because there are always objections. And then there's also the part of customer onboarding. And we will also look at a technology stack that looks at lead generation. So this is what we cover in this stage. Then after this stage, we have the next stage, which is the certified sales management professional. Now here, we will tackle layer 3 and layer 4 of the framework. So layer 3 is the supporting layer. This is where we will look at how do we handle account management in sales? How do we look at team competencies, the team structure, the competencies that you require in a sales team? How do we go about making sure that we're recruiting the right people to handle sales? How do we manage communications? 1 minute, I think I see somebody coming in. How do we manage communications? How do we look at compensation in sales? How do we ensure that we're looking at training and enabling for sales, and then also looking at negotiation when we're doing sales? And then we have layer 4, which is the measurement layer, where we're looking at metrics, analytics, and reporting. And this is where we'll be looking at sales plans and the components of a sales plan. We also look at getting a better understanding of sales performance measurements. We look at the KPIs, sales metrics, reporting fundamentals, and also some business intelligence and also analytics of the same. We'll be looking at how do you look at addressing goals and objectives, defining the sales functions, things that would actually influence the structure of how you will determine the sales functions. We look at putting together a go-to-market plan, and also a sales growth strategy. That is what is covered in this particular stage. Then after this, we have the next stage, which is then the sales master certified professional. And here we consider the layer 5, which is the leadership layer. This is where we look at what we call an SMO. We'll get to understand what exactly is an SMO. It really deals with governance of how you're going to, it's a sales management office that deals with governance. How do you govern sales? why would you want to create a sales management office? Why do you actually want to do this? Why is it required? What are its functions? Looking at how you create a vision statement for this, the different structures and types of SMOs, how you look at governance of sales, then we look at the sales leadership, looking at leaders in sales versus managers. We look at the different styles of leaders in sales, the types of leadership, how we look at emotional intelligence in sales, how we look at setting targets and KPIs, considering compensations in sales, looking at training, conflict management, stakeholder management, and then we also consider some NLP, the new linguistic programming, so that we can make the most and the best out of sales. We look at how we can just communicate, a communication model we can use to make sure that we are making selling easy with NLP. Doing that by building rapport, asking the right kind of questions, making sure that we're establishing the need the customer has, and making sure that we value the same, linking the customer need with what it is we have, and then using NLP to also make sure that we close the sale. Then we also look at different techniques that we could use in sales negotiations, and there are different ones. So we look at that, and then we also look at agile sales management when it comes to sales. So these are the steps. So this is the 4th certification that is on offer. There is a 5th one, and that is the authorized sales trainer. So I have gone through the 4 steps, and today I am an authorized sales trainer. Now I am trusting that I will have more people join me in this space, because it is when you are an authorized sales trainer that you can then train others in this in sales, in any of these programs. I'm hoping that we will have people come on board and get to this point so that we may have more of us being able to train others. I don't know what thoughts you may have, or comments or questions this far. And you can come off mute and share, or you can type the same in the chat box.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
My name is Diana Mumbua.
Yes,
Yes, thank you for taking us through the steps, levels of the training. I'd like to just inquire whether I say pick one thing instead of just is the Sales Management Institute, is it mandatory to say start from beginner stage and scale up that way, or is there a provision for, say, picking up, I want to call them a module, one module where I think I can polish? That's my question. Is there a provision for just picking one and studying that, or do I have to go climb up the steps?
Yeah, so thank you for that question, and it's an important question. So you don't necessarily have to go up the steps, but there are provisions that you need to meet to be able to do so. For example, if you picked, let's say, the sales master, there are certain, they may be, and not may, there are a number of years experience that you would need to have. You may need to have had the previous one. So there'll be a number of conditions that you would need to meet in order to do that particular certification. Like, for example, if you've been working in sales for a number of years, that will count for something. So it will be able to help you know which position you can now come in, which certification you can take. Does that answer you, Diana?
Yes, that's well answered. Thank you.
Okay, yeah. So, and I see a question here from Gladys in terms of how much the courses are. So we have this in two ways. So one, there is a course, like for example, you could be in your organization where you have you would like people trained, let's say, for example, in just sales foundation, and it's just the training that you want. Now, there is a cost for the training that is separate. Then there is also an additional cost if you want the certification. You would add you would top up the amount to get the certification. After you have done the training, there are also open courses where people can come in as individuals, where they would go through the training together with others, and then at the end of it all, they can decide they want just the certificate of completion or to actually be certified. So there are different rates. And if you're interested, we are later on going to share our own contact. So if you are interested, then you can get in touch with us and we'll be able to share with you the exact rates. If it is for an organization and it's maybe a group that is being trained, it would be a group rate. If it's an individual, it would be an individual rate. And then you can do the training itself and then do a top up for the examination. Gladys, does that answer your question? Okay, great, wonderful. Anything else that anyone may want to know up to there? And please feel free to come off mute and ask or share in the chat, and we will address the same. So my trust is that we will come together and just put in the effort that will then help us to become the professionals that we can be. And it's Robert Collier who says success is the sum of small efforts repeated day in and day out. And why am I sharing this? What we will be encountering even as we go into the training for these certifications, looking at the content that we have, it will equip us to be able to put in place the things that we need to so that we can then do sales in a wonderful and in a great way. When I'm thinking back at the times when I was doing sales before I got this training, I remember there are times I would have great success with one particular client and bag a really huge deal, and then I would be struggling with others. And I remember that used to frustrate me, because I didn't know the process that I needed to take. I didn't know the steps that I needed to put in place so that I can actually have better chances. I didn't know that I really needed to work on my leads, needed to qualify my leads so that indeed they can become they can actually become opportunities and end up being a sale. So what we are saying here is we're offering you an opportunity to come and learn what you need so that you can then diligently, even for the people who, and many of us, you may be great, but I know that in as much as I did manage to do sales, I was not the top. There are people who naturally just were able to sell anything. I know that that was not a natural gift for me. But with the steps that we have here, that have helped me see greater success when it comes to selling. And our passion is to be able to transfer that so that we can have more and more people being able to sell professionally, being able to just be equipped to become great salespeople. So my hope is that we will have people who will just make that decision to then become great in sales and then take up the place of sales leadership. Now, to set us off to that end, we are planning 2 coming sessions for the first certification, or rather the first course, the Sales Foundation Professional. We are planning for a physical training later this month. Actually, this is not the 26th, it's the 27th and 28th of February. I need to correct that. 27th and 28th of February. This will be physical. We'll be able to share the venue with the registered participants. We'll have sessions the whole day. This should be in one of the hotels in Nairobi. And then after that, we are planning a virtual session that will be on the 3rd and the 4th of February. And these sessions, all these sessions will be running from 8:30 to 4 p.m. We'll start off with the Sales Foundation Professional, and then in about probably a month or a month and a half, we will then be able to have the next, which is the Certified Lead Generational Professional, and going ahead and building that way. And then also what we are hoping is to be able to build a database of people who have professionals who have gone through this training, so that when we have people looking for sales professionals, we're able to direct them to people who are equipped and also have been certified. So this is the plan that we have. In case you're interested or you know someone who may be interested, we would request that you reach out to us, and these are our contacts. Our email is info@vitalsolutionsafrica.com, and we have our numbers there. You could reach out to us. This second number is 0743. So one is 0733, the other one is 0743 448 592. If you could reach out to us on those numbers, and we will be able to give you more information. If you know somebody who you feel will benefit from this training, please share this information with them. Let them get in touch with us so that we can then work with them and set them up to becoming professionals in this field. Yeah. And therefore, that is bringing me to the end. But before we leave, are there any questions or any comments that you may have before